lot of people do see nannying as a stepping stone into doing the career that they really want, but it is actually a career, and I've made it a career as well. Imagine having your own childcare expert in your home, tailored to your child and to your family. The UK Nanny Matters campaign is so important because it advocates for a pay scale for nannies. Make sure you have the mindset that you're there as a support system to the family, not just to the child. My name is Shada Lambert. I'm also known as Nanny Sharz, and I'm an international nanny and childcare expert of 17 years. I specialise in potty training and sleep training, but I also am a mentor for many nannies and businesses, and I'm also an entrepreneur as well. So that's me.
Amazing. And some of the things that you talked about there are probably especially interesting to our early years audience in terms of the stuff that you do around potty training and sleep training. For me, as a non-early years person, both of those things sound like really lovely solutions to things that could maybe be a bit of a nightmare for both parents and for early years sort of or children-based practitioners in general. What made you want to tackle two like massive issues within the sector like that?
Well, to be honest, it's mostly my strengths, and I also find as me being a nanny, as well as being a speaker as well. I speak a lot on potty training, public speaking on potty training and sleep training. But besides that, I really enjoy it. I know some people, I'm a bit weird like that. I enjoy things that most people don't. So I really enjoy potty training and I really enjoy sleep training because it's so rewarding, and I'm big on challenges. So it is very challenging, but once you get the result, that feeling is priceless. And just to see, sleep deprived parents now sleeping, that is like a reward that I would live for over and over and over again. So I think the reward keeps me continuously doing it, but also I just love the challenge of it as well. And just seeing a child learning a new life skill, because both of them are life skills we both need as children and adults. So yeah, I'm happy I can play my part in teaching children that and helping parents too.
I was going to say, and you talk obviously with such passion when you're talking about supporting children, but that's twice in that little description that you mentioned, being able to see the impact on parents. Is that part of the reason that you chose a career as a nanny rather than working in a setting, or that sort of, I suppose, whole relationship and that whole bit of practice is important?
1000%, most definitely. As well as being a nanny, I'm a support system to the parents. So I don't just focus on the children, I focus on the family as a whole. So I have to make sure when I enter a family, I'm making a difference to every member of that family, not just the children. So yeah, and I feel like being a nanny, I can do that because I have more personal one-on-one care in the home. For me, being a nanny is my calling.
Do you think that everyone knows what nannies are?
Yeah, most definitely needs more attention. We need recognition, and we also need to advocate for us to be seen as professionals, because we are early years professionals, we are childcare professionals, but we just don't get the respect that we deserve. I'm very biased as well because I've been a nanny for so long as well. I've gone through so many different experiences, and as well as mentoring other nannies as well. I hear different experiences and it's all quite similar. So yeah, I definitely feel like, especially with the UK Nanny Matters campaign, we are campaigning to make sure that there's a conduct and a professional standard for nannies, and also that we get regulated. So, contracts are in place. You tend to find many nannies work without a contract, which I advise against, but some people get in the situation where, oh, it's fine, we don't need it. And then something comes up and I drum it into my nanny mentees' heads. Do not start a job, and no matter how excited you are, without a contract that has been signed by both parties, read, negotiated and signed. So yeah, I don't think we get the recognition we deserve. And in terms of being a nanny, there's so many things that we do that so many people don't know. I've been called an au pair. Like I said, no disrespect to au pairs, but we are not au pairs, we are nannies. We're not babysitters, we're nannies. It's completely different, like 3 completely different jobs.
There's a really weird disconnect from the people that I've talked with since sort of discovering a little bit more about nannying as a profession, in that lots of people see it as both childcare for rich people. And in that very sort of exclusive world of nannying in that high income families bit, but also see it as a really low paid sort of dead end job, which I suppose is wrong on both counts.
It's furthest from the truth. When people find out what nannies actually make, they're like, I'm in the wrong job. That's always the response that I get. We are very, very well paid because we work very, very hard and we should be compensated for that. And a lot of people do see nannying as a stepping stone into doing their career that they really want. But it is actually a career. And I've made it a career as well, doing it for 17 years, you know, being a worldwide nanny, working for many different families. And it's not just a childcare service for rich people. And this is why I personally went on a public platform, because I want people to know nannies are accessible. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to have the highest income in the world. If you want, you can have a nanny, but it just has
I mean,
to
it
work
might
out.
even be that if you have multiple children of different ages, or that are in a setting, that it might be more cost effective to have a nanny who can cater to all three of those children than it could be to put all three into a childcare setting that you were paying for individual spaces for.
Most definitely. I 100% agree. And for me, I want people to think of a nanny as another option of childcare when they think, okay, I can either have a nanny, an au pair, or a nursery. I want nannies to be in that, because what I found was what I did recently. I think I mentioned this to you before. I did free childcare. I was offering through lockdown, free childcare for single parents in the South East London area. And one of my main reasons for doing that was because I want people to see that being a nanny is accessible. I want them to have the experience of having a nanny and understand, because a lot of the single parents that I provided childcare for didn't actually know what nannies did. And then when I came into the home, they were like, is this what a nanny does? I might reconsider, like maybe not send my child to nursery and get a nanny instead. And they love the fact that it's one-on-one, you're in the home, it's very personal and very tailored to their children. Imagine having your own childcare expert in your home, tailored to your child and to your family. That's the best thing. Most parents need that support or advice. Imagine having someone in your home that you could go to for all those things that, you know, your parenting or childcare related issues.
Do you think that's part of that whole regulation piece? Because obviously we know that is what people get if they get a good nanny and they have that right infrastructure and that right support system in place where that nanny can develop and do CPD, and that I suppose a nanny who is experienced enough to be able to talk about those contracts and that sort of, this is my childcare philosophy and this is, you know, to have those conversations. But because of the lack of regulation within that nannying space, anyone can say they're a nanny. So you need to know how to find a childcare expert to be able to get a nanny successfully.
And that is why I started my YouTube channel, Nanny Sharz, my YouTube channel. I was getting so many questions from parents. How do I hire a nanny? What are the things I need to look out for? What do I ask at the interview? What kind of documents do they need? And that's why every week I post videos on YouTube that are free. You can go on there and you can get all the answers to your questions. And if you then want to come and talk to me, you can book a consultation or a call.
There's so many different things that nannies need to know about to be able to avoid, I suppose, those regulatory pitfalls where they're not going to get into trouble for not having paid, you know, national insurance, not just from a, you know, a tax point of view where you get in trouble for not paying your tax, but, you know, things like making sure that when you retire, you do get a pension because your national insurance is being paid, and all of those sorts of things that might come back to bite you later. Are there sources of support for nannies to be able to find that stuff? I know of, for Association of Nanny Agencies, for example, who would say to seek out a reputable agency to support you. And also, obviously, there's the different nanny support groups, like the International Nanny Association and the British Nanny Association. And is there anywhere in particular that you would advocate that people find help?
Definitely. And that was one of the reasons why I started my nanny mentoring, and I mentor nannies all over the world. So that is my way of, in a way, giving back, because I wish I had someone like myself, like a mentor when I was going through some difficult times. And I always say this, nannies need nanny friends, because sometimes when you're explaining certain situations to your friends, they just don't get it. But if you explain it to a nanny, they just get it straight away. Because obviously from their experience. So yes, I would always advise nannies to get a mentor. If you're happy for me to mentor you, I'll be more than happy to do that. So you can check out my website, nannysharz.com. And there is also other associations like BAPN, BAPN. They are really good with resources and, information as well, but also just finding nanny friends. Facebook nanny groups is really good for, networking and connecting with other nannies. And there's an amazing community of nannies on Instagram as well. So if anyone is listening to this and they're a nanny and they're feeling a bit lonely, they can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at Nanny Sharz. Send me a private message, a DM, and I can connect you with a few nannies in your area. I'm quite well connected, Dawn. So I can find, I'm sure I'll find a nanny in your area that you could, do some play dates with, or, meet up, have a chat and things like that. So yeah, it's just having nanny friends is really important.
I know that you're also quite good at obviously advocating for yourself and for your profession, but also at, making sure that you've got the right boundaries in place to look after yourself as well. Talking to some other nannies that I've met before, I know that it can be really difficult sometimes to keep those boundaries in place and to, I suppose, be both a friend to parents and to have a professional boundary so that you do also have that professional relationship. How do you protect your time as a nanny to make sure that you don't just end up at the beck and call of the family that you work for?
I protect my time. I have a list of things that I like doing that make me feel happy and that keep me motivated. And when I do them, I feel really good. And I have that list. And on that list, I have to do at least 2 or 3 things a week on that list. Because when I stop doing that and I start, forgetting about the self-care, the nanny burnout comes out so quickly. And over the years, I've managed it now. I know that I don't get burnt out. People are like, Shada, you're always working. You're so busy. You're here, you're there, you're everywhere. Are you never tired? I'm tired. Don't get twisted. I am tired. But I also make time for, I like getting my nails. I don't really have nails, but I like getting my nails painted and my, pedicure and a manicure every now and again. We haven't been able to do that because of lockdown. So, I love to read. I love talking to my family. I'm very family orientated. So my nieces and nephews, they're a big part of my life. So doing things that I enjoy. I love hiking and walking. So making sure I incorporate that into my daily life and also into my weekly life as well.
And how has that been over the last year, where I know nannies have been allowed to go to work and to do obviously your job and to provide childcare and to obviously spend time with the families that you support, but there hasn't necessarily been that outlet where you can go and get your nails done or to go and just play with kids that you love for the sake of playing with kids that you love, rather than because there's a goal or an outcome or some development to be done. How have you managed to keep that going, and how, I suppose, could other people make sure that they're still finding ways to look after themselves if those usual route ways are closed to them at the minute?
So for me personally, I've been very blessed because I've been able to work throughout the whole pandemic. I've never been I've been busy all the time, but this is the busiest I've ever been. So I've been very blessed in that sense, and I've managed to meet some amazing families during this time. But also what I say to a lot of my mentees is during this time, if you are furloughed or you are out of work, brush up on your CPD, brush up on your professional development, take some online courses, network with a few nannies. If there's find out what your niche is as a nanny. Like I said, my niche is just being a nanny, nannying through love and potty training and sleep training. Find out something you're really, really good at as a nanny, whether that be you're really good at making different arts and crafts. Set up an Instagram and share your ideas with other families or, children. Find a hobby that you enjoy, but also try and make sure you're gaining some more knowledge and experience during this time, because this is the best time to do online courses. Just add a bit more qualifications to your portfolio. And then once you come out of lockdown, you'll be more employable because you've got more experience, and it shows that you've been productive during this time as well. So yeah, and make sure as well, self-care is so important. So have a day off to do nothing, just chill. one day. Just chill, I'm someone that's always on the go, always on the go. So if you are similar to me, just have a day where you do nothing. Stay in bed all day, one day, read a book, watch a movie. I don't know. But yeah, that would be my advice.
And you see, obviously you're always on the go, and that's part of who you are. And obviously, even just talking to you in this environment, I can feel your energy, like you're absolutely full of beans, and it's really lovely. So I can imagine that sometimes having that day scheduled in to do nothing is difficult for you as someone who likes to achieve things and tick them off the list. Is that almost a challenge that you set yourself to, no, today I am not going to leave this house. I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to leave the building. I'm gonna stay in my pajamas all day and not purposefully make it a goal.
Yeah, it is. It's very difficult for me because I'm someone that likes to be busy. So being busy makes me happy. Doing and being productive makes me happy. I find it when I'm idle or when I'm resting, not that I find it weird, but I'm not as comfortable, if that makes sense. But that's just me. It's not for everyone. And I do make sure I have that time. Like, for instance, the other day I was like, I'm going to take today off. I put it on my Instagram story, as talk to all my supporters. I'm going to have today off. And everyone messaged me like, Shada, you ain't going to have today off. And then it ended up working. But it wasn't my fault. I got asked to do a BBC radio interview. And I was like, I can't say no to that. So it ended up working. But it was just for that one interview. But yeah, so, I do plan out these days and I like to actually have days off in the week because where I've been working for so long for many different families, I've not had the ability, or not even the ability, but I've not been able to choose when to have my day off, And so being a self-employed nanny, I choose when to work. So I'll be like, I'm going to have Tuesday off in the middle of the week. It's just a bit empowering. So I'm like, oh, and then I'll probably work on a Saturday. So, having that flexibility has really, really helped, especially with my mental health as well. I say being a nanny, you're just a nanny for life because you make an impact on those children and they're never going to forget you. Even now, I finished with my last permanent family in September. Since then, I've gone back 6 times, to work for them. So yeah, you're just a nanny forever, really, because it's very natural. It's a very natural, organic relationship. And I am genuinely interested in the welfare of the children that I look after. So even when I stopped work for them, I want to know if they did good in school. I want to know all the milestones that they've reached after me. So the families that I have been fortunate to stay in touch with, they keep in touch with me and they're like extended family, if I'm honest.
No, that makes perfect sense. And it's really nice to hear you talk, I suppose, about, because I know that you have that sort of very professional structure in place, and that you do make sure that you're looking after yourself, that is that nice relationship there, and that it is a little bit more fluid, I suppose, in terms of the way that you can build that. And I suppose that makes sense when you're helping parents with things that are really intimate and I suppose make them quite vulnerable. It must be a big deal for parents to ask for help with things like their child's sleep or getting their child to use the toilet properly, or to, that potty training bit, because as a parent, I suppose those things might feel like they're things that you should just be able to do.
No, that's not true. Like a lot of parents, for me, because I approach them on, I'm here to support you and your family, so I want you to ask me questions. I feel like a lot of families that I work with don't mind asking, and I always try to remind them as well, if I see that they're struggling with something and they haven't asked, I would say, if you need help with this, you can ask me, I know how to do this, or I offer the different things that I'm really good at. But if I don't know, like I don't know everything, I know a lot, but I don't know everything, I'll be very honest about that as well. But I find most parents, you get there's so many different types. So you get some parents that are like, you're the professional, like we respect you, we're gonna, like, you let us know what we need to do, are we doing this right, da da da. You get some families that are like, I know what I'm doing, you don't need to tell me, this is my child. And then you get some that are like, you know what, we are a team, let's work together. And I personally have worked for loads of different types. So yeah, I think it really depends on the parent. Everyone parent is very different, so it really just depends on the family.
In terms of potty training, and sleep. They seem like two really massive issues to massive areas, I suppose, not just individual issues, because obviously within sleep and within potty training, there must be so many individual things that make up that sort of journey, and so many different barriers that you might need to overcome to make those things happen. How have you managed to do so much in both of those areas, in, I suppose, bearing in mind that you're not particularly old, that you've covered quite a lot of ground in terms of the stuff that you've managed to put in place, and the support that you've managed to develop.
Having confidence in your ability and your skills, and enjoying it as well. I enjoy sleep training. I enjoy potty training. So for me, I'm doing something I enjoy, so it doesn't feel like work. And as well as being a nanny, sometimes I used to get parents, especially when I was first like, why are you charging this? You know, this nanny charges this and this nanny charges this. And I was like, well, with me, you get a full package. I sleep train the child, I potty train them, I do this, I do that. So you're getting a nanny, but you're getting these extra services as well as part of me being your nanny. And then when they saw me actually work, they were like, okay, we see why you charge what you charge. But, you know, I had to make sure that I was confident in those abilities. I made sure I took courses in those. I had the experience already, so I didn't actually need to take the courses, but I like my experience to match my education.
Is it something that parents come to you seeking? So it's not just something that is within your general nannying, you know, like, oh, well, I'm going to nanny for this family and I'll do these things as well. Is that sleep training or that potty training something that families seek you out for specific help with?
So as well as being a childcare expert, that is what I expert in. So a lot of families do come to me just for sleep training. They might not need me as a nanny. They might just need me to sleep train, or they might need me to consult them with sleep. A lot of the families, I'm doing a lot of online consultations because I travel a lot as well with being a nanny. I'm not always in the UK. So if I'm abroad, or even if I am in the UK, I get clients overseas as well that want to get advice about sleep training their children, and the same with potty training as well. Like I said, I use a scientific method with my potty training, so it's guaranteed to work.
Skillzminer is a great new addition to the Cash Alumni website. We've worked with Skillzminer to offer access to their amazing tool that can help you to figure out what you might want to do next in terms of learning, or which job you might be suitable for that you might not have considered before, or even just to figure out what your skill set is. You can access Skillzminer for free as part of your Cash Alumni membership. All you've got to do is go to cashalumni.org.uk and head to the Skillzminer page in the professional development section. I know I've talked a little bit about, obviously you're quite into your own development and you've progressed and sort of figured out where your niche is and what it is that you enjoy doing through that like reflective practice, and you've done qualifications. How easy has it been for you to be able to pursue that CPD? Obviously we've talked a little bit about nanny salaries and the perceptions that go with nannying. Is it a case of just advocating for yourself in terms of those contracts and that relationships to make sure that you've got space, time, financial resource to be able to pursue CPD and develop your career?
Yes, it's definitely advocating for yourself and setting a professional standard. If you take on a job that has many hours, but then you're willing to get paid pennies for it, what standard your employer's not gonna respect you, because they know that you don't value yourself because you're willing to take a lower wage, even though they know they should be paying you more. So for me, I believe in you get what you pay for. Honestly, if you pay a nanny and you're not paying her well, she's not going to be as motivated. She's not going to want to come into work and be happy. She probably won't go the extra mile for your family. So these are the things. If you're going to pay your nanny, make sure you pay her what she deserves. And this is why we said again, the UK Nanny Matters campaign is so important, because it advocates for a pay scale for nannies. So parents can see, okay, my nanny's been a nanny for between 5 and 8 years, so she should be on this pay scale. Or, you know, my nanny's been doing it for over 20 years, they should be on this pay scale. What you're finding is a lot of nannies or people are saying, I want to be a nanny now. They come in, the nanny, they got their little checks, or the DBS and the pediatric first aid, and then they're trying to get hourly rates of nannies that have been doing it for 25 years. That's not fair. That nanny's put in craft and work in her career, and you've been here you've done it, you probably don't have no experience, or you've done it for 1 year, and then you're trying to get the same wage. It doesn't work like that. And this is why we need to be regulated. because then we have that pay scale, and that would really help with a lot of confusion as well.
Yeah, and do you think that would help work the other way around as well, where you've got nannies who are very well qualified and very experienced who, because they're just the sort of person who enjoys being that person and doing those things, undervalues their skills and does
100%.
stuff at a much lower wage than they could get because they
Yeah,
don't know how to ask for it.
100%. Yes, I've spoken to so many nannies. Like I said, I've done it for 17 years. I spoke to nannies that have been doing it for 25 years, and I'm getting double what they're getting. And I'm like, huh? How you've got all the, what's going on here? And that's why with my mentoring, I'm working with nannies that probably they have more, they've been doing it longer than me, but I have more experience than them. And I've worked with nannies that are just coming into the industry, only been in it for 5 years. So it really does range, and it's really good to talk to them because I'm hearing like a lot of nannies are like, well, what's the point now? Especially the seasoned nannies, that's what we call them, the ones that have been in it for a long time. The seasoned nannies, what's the point of fighting for a wage? The younger ones are coming in and getting all this. And I'm like, that's not the attitude to have. It's definitely a mindset shift that we need. But you also get, I find, and I've found it with myself, the older you get, the more comfortable you are with speaking up and advocating for yourself. When I was younger, I'll be honest, I'll say I'm a Black woman. So I used to have this complex of if I speak up, I'm going to be labeled as an angry, aggressive Black woman. So then I wouldn't say anything. And then that just did me a disservice. It did the family a disservice because you build up resentment. You're not truly happy. And then when I started advocating for myself, I had less problems. So I was like, is that all I needed to do was talk? So I always advocate nanny to speak up, always speak up. If you're not feeling that you're getting paid what you deserve, have a chat with your employer and say, I've been doing this. If you're doing on extra tasks, say, I've taken on these extra tasks. I just would like to be compensated for it financially. Do you think we could do a pay review or, every 6 months or every year? So yeah, I really, really drum that into my mentees.
And do you think that's the same with things like if you want to do a course or you want to do some development, to just say like, this is the development I want to do and these would be the immediate benefits to you. Longer term, it might mean that I can do X, Y, and Z, or it might set me on this path and sort of maybe for the financial side, but also for that time away if there is that sort of need. And there's a lot of people scared to ask their family, the person that they're with, their employer, for that time to do that development because they see themselves as being paid for that direct contact with the child and with doing that child development. And they don't necessarily see the links between them doing this great course that they want to do because they'd really enjoy that, with those direct impact and benefits that it could have for that family they're working for.
It's very true. I've seen that a lot with some families. They want the nanny to know more. Like I had a coaching call actually last night with a nanny that's overseas, so I was up really, really late. And one of the things was sleep training. She knows I'm a sleep consultant, so she was like, I wanted to get your advice on this. So one of my tips for her was to invest in a course, and if the parents are okay to pay for that course, then it will benefit the whole family because we're having problems with the baby that wasn't sleeping. And they told me a few methods that they had used, and I was like, yeah, no. So it's like, if you gain more education and knowledge on it, then you could advise the parents best as well. You wouldn't have to come to me. So I definitely recommended her to the sleep course that I did. That was amazing. And so yeah, she got booked onto that. The family were very happy to do that. So yeah, sometimes I just think if you don't ask, you don't know. It's worth asking.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? They say no, but at least you asked.
Yeah, and now you can look at other avenues and not just wonder whether that could have been a thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent advice. If there was any advice that you could give to prospective nannies or prospective families of nannies that are listening, what would that advice be?
There's a few things. The first thing is to set boundaries very early with the parents and with the children. So important. Set boundaries. Always, always work to a very high standard and use your initiative. When you are a nanny, or if you're trying to get into the nanny industry, make sure you have the mindset that you're there as a support system to the family, not just to the child. You need to make sure that's very important. Make sure you have all your checks, so your DBS, your pediatric first aid, your nanny insurance. A lot of nannies are not insured. You need to get your insurance. Make sure you have a childcare qualification. And if you're trying to get into the industry and you don't have childcare qualification, do some volunteering. Do some volunteering or get paid at a lower wage to do some extra work or be in a facility where you can get that experience, but you don't have the, qualifications yet. So you say, I can come and help out for a few hours a day. You can compensate me for this, or maybe they can buy you lunch, or I don't know, give you a voucher. But just gain some experience. I managed to gain a lot of my experience from babysitting when I was really young. I was 13 and I thought I was a big woman and I wanted to work. I wanted to be an adult and I wanted to get money like everyone else. So I started working at 13 and I haven't stopped since. And I started off assisting my dance teacher. So I went to a dance school every Saturday, and my dance teacher, she taught classes, and I was like, I want to do what you do. And she would shadow me. And then I started taking her classes. If she got sick, I would take her classes, and I was doing that at 13. So I then started babysitting, and then that's how I got recommended to a family that I ended up being a nanny for. So at first, when I was doing that, I wasn't getting paid for that, but it gave me the experience that I needed to then say, I've got this experience. Can I now be your nanny? And that's how I got my first job.
Yeah, and I think that's quite an important bit, is that there's lots of, because it's unregulated, there is quite a lot of route into nannying at the minute. So you could become a nanny through that sort of unpaid experience route and then become confident enough to then gain some experience as a nanny on a lower wage before you get a qualification, or whilst you build up your knowledge and your skills.
Yeah.
But you could also come to it through any of the other routes within childcare. So, like you said, you could get a childcare qualification. If you need to work, you could maybe do an apprenticeship somewhere, like a nursery or in a childcare setting, so that you can then bring that experience with you over to nannying when you do it. What about people who are currently exploring careers in childcare who haven't thought about nannying? Why should they?
Why should they become a nanny? It's so rewarding. If you love children, it's the perfect career. If you love working one-on-one with children, or you feel like you can make a difference to a family's life, nannying is just, it's just, I think it's the best career. Like, I think I love my life, honestly. There has been times when it hasn't been great, but overall, my career has been amazing, and it continues to be. So if you are looking at, okay, I'm in childcare, don't really know what to do, it's very well paid as well. So if you're going to work in the childcare industry, why not get very well paid for it and also do something you enjoy? And you can have a lot of say over how you help raise the children, and the different things that you introduce to them. So yeah, definitely become a nanny. I'm very biased, but I'm always telling people, you want to become a nanny? Okay, I can do this and help you. So yeah, reach out to me if you need any help and you're listening. You're like, I don't know where to start. What do I do? Feel free to send me a message. You can go via my website, or you can find me on social media. I'm on all the platforms.
Yeah, we'll link all of those things down below. And obviously, what I'm really excited about is that you are also going to start to produce some resources that we can share with the audience through the Cash Alumni website, and to feature some of those things on there. So we'll be able to point people towards those to help them to get started as well. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell people? Because I am quite conscious that I could just talk to you all day, because you're really interesting and you've got loads of fun things to say, and you probably brighten up my afternoon. So I don't just want to talk to you for the whole afternoon when you've got loads of things you could be doing. But I also don't want to cut you off without letting you say anything that you do want to say to everybody who's listening.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me on the podcast. I feel very honored. So thank you for that. And like I said, same. I feel like I'm talking to a friend, I've known you for years, and we haven't even known each other that long, but I just feel very comfortable talking to you. So thank you first for allowing me to come on here. And then I would like to say, a nanny is like having a third parent. So we do exactly what the parents do. We just have the childcare knowledge and experience on top of that. So, consider a nanny as a childcare option when you're thinking of different options for your child. And the last thing I would like to say is sign the petition for nannies to be regulated. The UK Nanny Matters, there's a UK Nanny Matters campaign, and there's also a Regulation Matters campaign. Sign both of them. Just sign them, please, because we need signatures. We need the government to take notice of these petitions so we can get it discussed in Parliament and get nannies regulated. It helps with safeguarding children, it helps with safeguarding parents and ourselves as childcare professionals, and it just helps parents have more security in who they're hiring in their home.
Brill. And that's an amazing point to end on. And we will link both of those campaigns down in the description as well. So if anyone wants to look at the show notes, they will see those links for those campaigns. And I'm sure that's something that we can cover in one of those things that you talked to us about in those resources that we developed together. Thank you so much for your time. It's been great to talk to you, and same, I'm pleased that you're stuck with us and that we're going to do more things together. And thanks to you at home. Don't forget, for more great content tailored towards those working in care, health and education, it's free to join our network and you gain access to some great articles, videos and resources to support your career, and some information about career development, as well as our members' discount and benefits scheme. And if you'd like to feature on a future episode of Podcash, please get in touch at alumni@cash.org.uk. Until next time, take care.